All right. So last year I showed the binary lottery, but I didn't actually show it running. So when people watch the video, they don't know what it does. So for the sake of the video, I'll go ahead and run it again, but we won't. This won't count for anything. So I kick it off. I wrote it in shoes this year because I didn't want to do another console one. I actually wanted to do something a lot fancier, but I did this, I think, between 11 and 3 a.m. So I'm not sure how good it is. This is how it runs. We just got a bunch of random flickering ones and zeros. With each key I press, we reveal one more of the binary of the positions for the number. And then after all 8 have been revealed, we show who the winning person is. You didn't win anything. So this is pretty much exactly what we had last year. I've got a YAML file with everybody's name. We pulled this from Activa when you registered, threw it into a spreadsheet, gave everyone a increasing number, and changed that to the 8-digit binary number. And then I just keep that in the YAML file. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomly choose one of these entries in the YAML file. That's going to be the winner. And then the app is all about the reveal. So we're not randomly flipping coins like we do with a real binary lottery. And here's the implementation. I wish, let's just ignore this for now. Don't worry about that. So we're using YAML. Can I get this thing smaller? Okay. So I create my users. That's just going to be the opening of that YAML file. Then I'm just going to pick one. I do that here where I pick a random user. And then I make sure that I actually have a winner, and I make sure that the eligible field on that object is not false, I guess. And then I start count, and this is kind of a kludge. This is real hacky, so I apologize for it. But it's a shoes app, and so if you've ever looked at Wise Shoes, this should look pretty familiar. On key press, all I'm going to do is I'm going to increment count, right? And then later on, I'm going to be animating everything else. So I create a stack. I've got a paragraph that says Mountain West Ruby Conference, binary lottery, your winner is. And I couldn't figure out the styling because I was really tired, so I just hard-coded it. Then I have an empty paragraph, which is for the name, which is also fairly big. And then I have a flow, A through H, because I really am not very creative on naming. And then that's just going to be some random number of 1 and 0. And again, those are very big. And then I have an animation loop, so 60 times a second. I'm just going to update the digit. I'm going to do it for my A paragraph, my B paragraph, my C paragraph. I'm going to pass in the current count. I'm going to pass in what position of the binary number I want to display. And then I'm going to pass that number. So that's the 8-digit number there. And then if the count is greater than or equal to 8, I'm going to go ahead and place that label, that name paragraph. I'm going to replace its empty string with the winner's name. And then also if the count's greater than 8, not if it's equal to 8, but if it's greater than 8, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that paragraph of the name as red. I'm going to set the eligibility of that winner to false, and then I'm going to save that YAML file. And what that means is that if you win once, you're not going to win again. So I forgot who I just drew. You didn't turn red, so you didn't get saved, and you'll be eligible to win again. But that's it. Any questions? Nope, good.
Okay, well, I'm just here to demonstrate guess method, which is something I wrote for IRB. You have tab completion, but I don't always use it because I think I can type faster. So if you misspell something, you just get a name error, and it's sort of annoying if you're in a long method chain or within a method definition. So I created guess method, which replaces and tells you what it's doing. So I misspelled string, but I actually get the string object back. Does it for constants and methods. It uses the Levenstein distance to determine if something is close enough. It's a slightly modified weighting system for it that I thought worked better for typos. So if it finds multiple things within the threshold that match the distance, it will tell you, what were the possibilities, and then it just raises the name error that would have got raised anyway. So that for methods and constants. And so if you're outside the threshold, it just gives you that message. So one of the things I did was I tried to test this really well. And so one of the specs looks like this, which passes. So actually, my favorite part is I always misspell exit, and so that fixes that for me. Once I had that working, I realized that I'll also often forget the name of a rake task, or I'll just know approximately what it is. And so I created Grake, which just does it. So I want to run the specs, but I misspell it, and this is what it looks like when it runs. But you can see up here, it tells you that it's invoking something else. And that's it. The specs are really clear about what it can do. It doesn't work very well. It's difficult with Rails. In console, if you let's see, you have to do this in console so that guess method doesn't interfere with Rails method missing and const missing business. Guess method has to be last. What it does is it takes method missing, runs an original method missing, catches the name error, and then runs its thing. So Rails has to do all of its first. And I've tried putting into Rails, but it's a really bad idea. This is totally not for production. That's all. That's important. Yeah, I want to say that. So that's it. That's all I got. Thanks.
I was told you were going to be asked if you wanted this or not. Did anybody get asked? Did you ask anybody?
Does anybody want to see this? Sure, yeah.
It's active scaffold.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's Tim? There you are. Tim and I are not on the core team per the discussion this morning. We're contributors to active scaffold, but we are no longer on the core team. That was supposed to be a joke. It does say core team out on our website, but we'll change that shortly. What active scaffold does is it basically puts scaffolding on top of tables. So in this, let me see if I can zoom this so that it fits. There we go. So I have a customer table. It has all the CRUD operations. It's all Ajax oriented. The It also, let's get something more interesting. I've added a couple of add-ons. It's pretty extendable. I've added on customize ability. Tim, you were working on a sort ability that actually uses Ajax, which is pretty cool. I don't have that to demonstrate right here. I've also got a PDF plugin that I've added onto it that allows you to print the table. It's Rails as well. It does nesting, so you get a complete set of nesting capability for subordinate table relationships. It's kind of been in limbo a little bit here as of recently, and we are pursuing getting Git working on the plugin so that we can actually get the community more involved, because the core team is, like all of us, we're not getting paid to do the open source, and until we get projects that will pay us, it kind of sits there for a while. Any questions? Yes.
The PDF and export and all that, is that available? Or?
Yeah, that PDF thing is called our PDF. That's the plugin. The export, there are a couple plugins out there. The one that I maintain is called Active Scaffold Tools. Allows you to customize the list and do export. That also gives you the ability to just print HTML, so that basically gets rid of the layout. I also maintain a localization plugin. Oh, I didn't mention the RFPDF. It's completely localizable. It's UTF-8. We've done some Japanese installations of it, and hopefully in the future I'll get right to left working as well. Other questions? Okay.
So, I'm Josh Schafer, and I'm going to talk about Migration Concordance, which is a plugin that I wrote and I blogged about recently. If you're interested in this, it's up on GitHub under my Josh Schafer account. And what does it do? Well, we all know about migrations in Rails and how cool they are, and also what a pain they are sometimes, especially when you're working on a team and people go and change migrations and you don't notice it. So I wrote this thing that has a kind of weird approach to checking out what's going on. So let's see. It screwed up all of my window spacings. What I do is, let's just see what, this is the one I want. So here, I'll show you this in action. Yes. That better? Okay. Oh, that didn't help. Why is the Mac so weird today? Oh well. So let's say you're working on a team and somebody checks in a migration and you don't notice that they checked in the migration, and then you go run tests and everything blows up. That's a pain. So there's something in Rails that will actually force you to run migrations if you are running tests and the schema version and the number of the latest migration are different. But I find that a pain. So I like to know a little bit more. Plus, there are occasions when somebody edits an existing migration that's been previously run, and then just checking the version numbers is not going to help you. So I wrote this plugin to check and see a number of conditions. So the way you get it going is there's one line that you put in the end of your environment to call this check concordance thing in the environment. And then you want to add, let's see, you want to add a file to your git ignore or svn ignore, because you want to make sure that this stuff isn't checked into version control. Otherwise, that would ruin the point of the whole thing. Hang on, let me make colloquy go away because it's being annoying. So what I do is I create a snapshot file that holds an MD5 hash of every migration file that is in your migrations directory when you run migrations. And that makes it very easy to detect the next time you go to run your application or run tests to see if anyone's changed an existing migration or deleted one or added a new one. So I'll show you how it works here. So it runs just when you run the environment. So now I get a message here that says you need to migrate the schema from this from version 1. So I can go and look and see I got this version 1 here. So a whole bunch of stuff in there. So now if I go rake db migrate reset, that just goes and reruns all my migrations. And then the nice thing about doing the check in the environment is that it'll happen when you run console or tests or anything. So here you can see it tells me everything's cool. Now, oh, really? Okay, so I'll show you the other two things. So if I generate a new migration, this is just like you've checked out a new migration. And then I look and see what's up. It'll tell me, hey, you got a new file that you need to run rake db migrate. And if I look here, I can see in the snapshot, the file isn't there yet. But if I rake db migrate, I can go back here and I can see I have this for the new file. And if I check the environment, it'll tell me everything's Jake again. So that's it. There's a long debate to be had about whether or not you want to be editing old migrations. If this tool is useful to help you go and hunt down and kill your team members who have edited old migrations, that's your choice. Or you can go and figure out how to work with editing the history. So that's it. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to be talking about some framework components that I'd like to build. I've been building domain-specific frameworks, which are basically web frameworks that I've built on top of Rack that are for specific client projects. And I've been doing this mostly for clients that want a web application that they can extend, but they don't necessarily have the programmer manpower to really devote to it. I'm giving a full talk on that whole concept at the Ruby Fringe, if any of you guys are going to be there. They're basically DSLs for the web. They're just kind of DSLs that generate a web application. One of them might look like this. It's sort of a simplified version, one that I've actually built. The page method is a block that has different methods in it to put things on the page, and this would generate an HTML page. And if they requested a PDF page, then it would generate a PDF on the fly and spit that out. And on the application that it's actually from, it would live at reports / whatever the RB file is. And so if they need to add a new report, they would just go in and create a new file, create one of these page blocks. And they can have multiple pages too they were paginated, so they would link to each other. If they were HTML, or they would create a paged PDF file. The project that I'd like to start that I kind of want you guys to help with is reusable components for things like this. And I kind of have like a small pool of things that I've done myself, like a router that's about as powerful as Rails router, but it only is about 120 lines instead of like 1,200 or whatever Rails is now. And it's really just so we can improve them together. If we extracted things like the router out of most web frameworks or out of the small ones that we've built, and then we improve them, we can commit them back to our own projects and make it better. If you're working on a new project, that's why I built a small pool of things that I have. Is I don't want to sit around reinventing the wheel. It would be a lot quicker to get things like this launched. And this could even be for general web frameworks that are coming out, like Sinatra and things like that, could snag these reusable components and put them in their own projects. And if they are extracted out of other projects, then we can contribute new features back to these projects and improve them. a lot more. I registered a Ruby project about 3 or 4 hours ago. It's called Framework, that we can ditch all these components on. If you want to contact me via email, or I'm on IRC usually, I'm in the back channel, and I'll be around the rest of today and tomorrow. So if you want to grab me and talk about it, if you've been doing something like I've been doing, or if you want to get involved with doing something like that, then just let me know. Thanks.
So I started working for Reductive Labs recently. I'm working full-time on this product. It's released as an open source project, so anyone who wants to go play with this can do it. I think it's got some pretty neat stuff, and I'm still learning. Everyone else here probably knows more about Ruby than I do, and I've already learned some stuff today, and I'm going to learn more, but this is what I'm working on. So Puppet lets you do a lot of cool things, and hopefully by the end of this you'll see that, and maybe you can go play with it. Puppet's written in Ruby. Right now there's 46,000 lines of Ruby code in the library and about 48,000 lines in the test code. This is I pulled from the head of the release branch. There's a Git repository you guys can grab from that's on our website. And Puppet is essentially 3 things. It's a language parser that builds these abstract parse trees to let you do some stuff. I'm going to show you some of the language in a minute. It's a client and server. There's a centralized server that has your repository for all the nodes in your systems, all the nodes in your network, and what they are supposedly supposed to be doing. And then there's a resource abstraction layer that gives you portability between different systems. And it only runs on Unix-based systems. Maybe someday someone will make it work on Windows, but it won't be me. So. Yeah, what does that mean, and why should you care? Well, let's see. So I don't know what everyone's background is. In a lot of places, the developers and the sysadmins are they're separate creatures and they don't necessarily interact. But in places I've worked and places I've seen, there's sort of an ad hoc management system in place that's been rolled and kind of grown organically over time. And that creates a lot of issues, at least in the places I've had experience with, and maybe you guys have great operational guys everywhere, or everything's in the cloud and you don't ever have to touch it, but there tends to be this theme of pain, and really, except for maybe package management, there hasn't been a real evolution of system administration tools compared to what's evolved with respect to other development tools. So Puppet gives a declarative centralized configuration framework built on transparent extensible abstractions, and you get this inheritance, composition, and dependency structure that lets you do some cool things. So here's an example. I pulled it off their website. You can go do this. This is a recipe written in Puppet that lets you basically manage your Rails stack. So the important thing on this one is that you're going to have this include here, which is Rails stack. And Rails stack is going to include some other classes. Those are a web server, Mongrel. You're going to have MySQL, www root, and you're going to make sure that these packages are installed. There's this concept of a provider. So you'll see the MySQL and Rails are provided by gems, and so that needs a dependency on the package Ruby gems. So you're setting up these dependencies explicitly. Every sysadmin in the world knows that I can't install this package till this other package is installed. If I change this file, I have to restart this service. But those aren't expressed explicitly in your tools. So this gives you a way to go from just doing this stuff and maybe have some SSH and for loop stuff going on, but this is an explicit model that gives you a declarative model of every system in your network. So then this is a class Mongrel. If you set up Mongrel, this probably looks familiar. You're going to have your packages, you're going to have certain files, and then down at the bottom you'll see that it's going to subscribe to the file Mongrel cluster. So if that file changes, you're going to get your service Mongrel cluster restarted. And if anyone has any questions about the code or whatever, we can maybe track me down, bug me later. It's highly portable. It's already running and supported on these systems, and we're basically taking advantage of the Ruby VM to do that. There's maybe 50 lines of code that you need to write to provide that portability for the different providers for packages or what have you from different systems, because every system has SSH, but sometimes it's SSH and sometimes it's SSHD and sometimes it's OpenSH. And who cares? These people care. These people are running Puppet right now in some regard in their organizations. It's running production systems right now. And you might not want to use Puppet if your systems don't change, you don't need to scale, and you enjoy Rube Goldberg's legacy. But your competition might. And it gives you a way, Ruby and Puppet give you a way to manage your services, not your servers. So going from managing 10 servers to 100 servers is very easy. And like I said, anyone who wants to track me down and talk about it, feel free. Yes, sir.
So in that configuration file, it seemed like it wasn't valid Ruby syntax. So
It's not. That's a language parser. So there's a Puppet language that gives you this declarative mechanism.
what were the advantages of developing a custom language parser instead of doing a domain-specific language and letting Ruby do that heavy lifting?
I'm not sure there was advantages. If you know anything about this project, and you can go research it and talk about it, Luke was an operational sysadmin. He wrote 99% of this code, and he had these ideas that he wanted to do because he'd been working with CF Engine, which is written in C, and he wanted to change it, and he wanted to make it better, and he had all these ideas, but he couldn't really, get the community there was one person who's academic, and so he decided, okay, I want to do something different. He tried to do it in Perl, he tried to do it in these other languages, and he couldn't do it, but his background wasn't really as a developer, it wasn't really as a Ruby programmer, and then Ruby just let him do it. I mean, basically that's a testament to Ruby's flexibility and what it allows you to do, because he went from, not really being a developer background to having a working prototype in a couple days with Ruby. So maybe there's something, and there's probably in those 40,000 lines of code, there's probably a lot of stuff that we could trim down. We could probably get more performant. We could probably get cleaner abstractions and cleaner idioms, and that's definitely something we're working on doing.
My name is David South. Lloyd Moser and I have a small company up in Logan, so that means we're the chief cook and bottle washer. We have a project where we have to upload a lot of photographs, and as everybody knows, that's kind of a pain, especially on the web. You would have the browse, you'd find a photograph you want to upload, open, you'd upload the image, it would upload it to the server, and then you'd rinse and repeat, and you might be able to have 10 fields and have them upload 10 pictures at a time. But if they're large photographs, your browser might time out. You have issues of it just not feeding back. So what we found was this thing called Swift Upload. It's swfupload.org. It's a library written for a wide variety of platforms. There's a PHP implementation and a .NET implementation. It's basically a very simple system that uses a hidden Flash movie file to select the files. In other words, if I click Select Images, this is a Flash open file open dialog box. When I select the images I want, I can select as many as I want and hit Go. It will give you a real-time upload. It's hard to see down here because there's obviously no time to upload to a local system. But it'll give you a real-time upload indicator, and it'll continually send the files one at a time to the server. So as far as Rails is concerned, it's just receiving one picture sent to it at a time as if the person was at the computer doing it manually. When it's done, it says all images are received. You can return to the index. There they are. The nice thing about it is it doesn't actually use Flash for any of its styling. It uses JavaScript calls that do all the styling. The progress bar, everything is basically JavaScript. The system itself is really simple. They have a simple Flash file that you have to load and 2 JavaScript files. This SWF JavaScript file is just a library, and then there's the handler JavaScript file, which you have to do a small amount of hacking to make it work with Rails. The big trick is in your new, you need to have a little bit of JavaScript that defines where the information is that you need it to load. For example, the upload URL is SWF upload photos path. That was set in routes. If I go to the photo controller, SWF upload. Well, it's hard to do this on the screen. I got the test, didn't I? Hold on, guys. Basically, SWF upload receives a post from JavaScript that says, here's the file we want to upload. Flash monitors the uploading progress on the client side, continually sending JavaScript updates to your browser. So all the Flash handles the selecting of the files and monitoring the upload. The JavaScript is what updates the browser. So the browser never gets out of date. The browser is constantly being updated. When it's done, I render this text, which is the name of the thumbnail. It goes back to the JavaScript handler, which just renders the thumbnail. And then the Flash movie sets another file up for queue and then just posts it to Rails. This is using attachment foo, SWF upload, and Rails. It's a pretty simple project. We set up a sample, this sample actually. We put it on our website under app design /Rails _SWF upload. Can it handle multiple attributes? I don't think so. Basically, it's as if I was selecting the file and uploading it, one at a time. That's really what this is just a queue. All right, thank you.
Wow. It's big. So how many of you guys ate those candies? I don't know. Can I? Command Shift Plus. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize the candies had caffeine in them, so I'm way jittery right now. All right, that big enough? I wanted to demonstrate something that we've been cooking up at Lead Media Partners. It's called the Ruby AMP TextMate bundle. And I'm sorry, you, the PC guys, it hasn't been ported over for E yet. But in a nutshell, it's just a collection of commands that help you use the Ruby debugger, and it also implements a lot of things that really make it a lot more efficient to work with TextMate and Ruby. I started off using RadRails for a long time, and I really liked it. And I made the switch to the Mac, and the Eclipse kind of stinks on a Mac. I don't know if you've ever tried it, and so I gave TextMate a try and really loved it. But missed quite a bit of features, and there's also a couple of features I've always wanted as well. So I started on this bundle, and now I'm going to demonstrate it to you. First off, one thing that I really missed about TextMate RadRails was the ability to autocomplete from other files. So say you have in here, I've got this method called median in this class that I'm speccing against. And if I'm working on a spec in another file, I can push the shortcut key, and it just scans the words in all of the open tabs and completes from it. It's extremely handy if you're working with active record objects and you have the annotations at the top. Another thing is you can point your cursor at anything in the project. And if it resembles a file name or a path, you push the hotkey to go to it. It will look for anything that matches that, so you can go to it directly. So this works for partials, anything. It's really useful and very generic. And then another thing is you can jump to any class under your cursor. So say we are using this, oh wow, that is way too big. I can't see it. Maybe I can get rid of my drawer. There we go. Okay. Still too big. Can you guys read it? Is it? How do I get it smaller? It's not working. Jeez. Okay. Shift command. Ah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Can you read it? Okay. Well, spec. So if you have a class and you don't know really where it is, you can push the hotkey and it will grep through your whole project, find anything that looks like that, and jump right to it. This is extremely handy for methods as well. Like, let's see, say we've got, well, over here in the median, for example, if I want to go to a method called median, I just put my cursor over it, press the command, and it finds it. It takes you right there. It works for delegators, aliases, and all the other different ways of defining methods. So it's pretty intelligent, and it recognizes a lot of the patterns so it should be able to find it. It doesn't understand the purple code in some instances. And the purple code is that stuff with the here doc. And then finally, I just wanted to show you, you can debug in real time and evaluate inside of TextMate, which makes it possible to kind of have an IRB console session going on while you're writing your code. And this has helped me to be incredibly more productive. You push the key for the debugger, which is Command D, and that does a couple of things. It launches a Ruby process for your current file in debug modes, and then it fires up the TCP/IP port, so it listens for commands, and then it fires up a terminal for you, so you have a debug session. Well, I can type TM here. That brings me back to TextMate, where the context is, and I can start to write code, just like that. The control I, and so we'll evaluate that. So A equals, what's that? Okay. So we're going to post a page about that later on, and we'll have it written out on the whiteboard how you guys can get that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Koontz. Myself and a few other people wrote a little library called Monkey Bars, and we're going to attempt to write a GUI application in 5 minutes. So, Monkey Bars, for anyone who's never heard of it, it's a JRuby application, or JRuby library, that allows you to interface with Swing. So the idea is we're going to use everything that Java gives us, the platform, without writing any Java. So what I've done is I've used the Monkey Bars command. It's just like Rails. You'd say Monkey Bars space my app. It would generate a bunch of stuff for you. Okay. I've done that, and then gone and created a project inside NetBeans, just to save us some time. So we're going to start off. We're going to create a new form. We'll call this hello. And we got just a basic Swing form here. And of course, this is way too big. So we'll toss a label on here. We'll go ahead and we're going to name this thing text. Actually, I'm sorry, we'll call this message. And then we'll create a button. And I'm just going to set up the text value. Okay, so that's it. This is generating Java, of course, behind the scenes, but we don't have to deal with that. NetBeans is taking care of that for us. So now that we've got this, we're going to go and we're going to generate what Monkey Bars is going to use. So there's a rake task, generate. And we want to see what we're typing. Okay, so we want all three. It's a model view controller type system, so we want all three. It's going to be in source, and we'll call it greeter. And there's like no actual good rake aborted. Oh, because I'm on the wrong tab. Haha. So this is going to generate a model view and a controller for us. Oops. Which eventually will pop up. Okay, so here it is. Here's our model view and our controller. First thing we want to do is in our view, we want to set our class, and we name that class hello. So we're going to say that's the name of our class. And then the way this works is you have some stuff in your model. The model shovels it into the view, and then when an action happens, the view shovels it back into the model, and then the controller decides what to do with it. So we have to put something in here. Okay, so we just got basically an empty message. And now, in our view, what we do is we tell the view how to associate the stuff in the model with the stuff in the view. Okay, so we're going to map. This is all like super fast, so hopefully you get like the general gist of what's going on here. So in the view, we had a field, and it was called label, and it was called message. And we're setting the text property, and that's coming from the model, and it's coming from the message attribute. So let me make this smaller here. So that's all the mapping that we need. And then over here in the controller, we had a button, and it was named button. So we want to define a method called button action performed. This will do all the like adding action handlers and callbacks and all that. It just does it automatically. It knows that you want an action handler because you called the method action performed, and it knows you want it on the thing named button because that's the convention here. And what we want to do is we want to say the model's message is and then when we're done, we tell it to update the view. So we go ahead and rerun this. People are talking about me. Okay, and that's the wrong project, of course, because I forgot to switch it. Does anyone see it? Did it pop up? Oh, I'm sorry. I never told it to actually run. In our main file, we actually have to require, what do we call it? Greeter? Show this and we're done. So there we go. There's our field. We hit greet. Boom. Pops up. So, and the nice thing here is you can come over here and you can say rake rar jar. And yeah, rar is another library I wrote for packaging. And now you come over here to package deploy. Double click on this, and it just ran from a jar file. So now here's your application that you can just hand to someone who doesn't have, all they have is Java, and you just hand them a GUI application that runs out of a jar file. Double click.